Okay, have you wondered why these companies have done what they've been doing? Why Apple comes out with a male pregnant emoji? Why Coca Cola tells its employees to be less white? Why would these companies do these things? And Disney, of course, speaks for itself. Why would they do these things if they cared about what their customer base thinks, right? So knowing that white people still make up a huge portion of the country, why on earth would you want to alienate them? Why would you do that? I mean, at some point, you know that this is going to get out and it's going to be a problem because it should alert you that it's incredibly controversial to tell someone to be less of what their skin color is, as if you've already defined them as a human being in the first place. Well, there's a reason for it, and that reason is Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and their wonderful Great Reset. So, what they have done, okay, what they have accomplished, all right, is truly amazing. All right, what they've accomplished is they've created metrics. All right, in this new utopia that they want to bring about, where you're going to own nothing and be happy, they've they can't directly come after American citizens or citizens of many countries in the world for that matter. But what they do is they go after the corporations. They go after your boss. All right. And no, yes, all of us don't work for these people, for these types of companies, but many these companies employ huge portions of the population. And most of what they employ are young, very impressionable children. And when I say children, that can range from an actual child up until a young adult, mid 20s. When you talk to those people who believe that men can get pregnant, they're out there. They're out there. I mean, this is gaslighting on a level that I've never seen in my life, where there's an actual generation of people who actually believe that it somehow makes sense for men to swim, men to compete in sports against women, and that somehow that doesn't hurt women, who before this, used to be, the group that they champion. But it should be a note taken to every other group that it's just that quickly that they'll throw you into the trash. It's just that quickly. You're only as good as your usefulness is, right? So what do they do this for? Well, they've created metrics, all right? So Klaus Schwab, if you watch the actual World Economic Forum video that they put up, the conference that they did on the Great Reset with him, Sahidi, what is it? Sadia Zahiri, and there was another like really loony looking dude on there. If you watch the whole thing, and it's not the most entertaining thing in the world, but if you watch the whole thing, you'll see they explain it all to you. And Klaus will tell you that he brought in the big four to help to figure out exactly what these metrics should be. And who are the big four, you might say? Well, you're looking at them. It's PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, and Ernst and Young, okay? And these companies are the four largest investment firms in the world, okay, in the world. They control trillions of dollars. It's absurd how much money they control, how much of other people's money they control. But through these, and they do that through mutual funds and through things of that nature, IRAs. But the idea is 401ks, etc. But they take this money and basically decide where it's going to be invested. All right. So when they come up with these metric scores, and if you go to Google, you can see what the metrics are. If you go to Google, just type in. You don't have to go to DuckDuckGo for this one because World Economic Forum's out of the closet now, so they're right there. Type in WEF 21 metrics, and you'll see what the metrics are. Okay. Now, mind you, that's a listing of what they originally were, but companies that are evaluating now have the ability to alter those at will, which is where the creepiness of this whole thing comes in. So the scores are called ESG scores, okay? All right, that's environmental, social justice, and government or governance, okay? Referring to not the government, but to the company's governance. So their board of directors, leadership in the company, what they're advocating internally, those sorts of things, okay? And that's where the trainings and the things like that come in as well. All right. But if they decide to say, screw you, and we're just going to run this company the way we want to, and we're going to run it, for the most profit possible for our investors, and that's the way the company should be run, well, then they will get punished with their ESG score, which will then cause these 4 companies on the screen to decide that the next time that this company wants a loan, or Bank of America may look at their ESG scores and decide they consider you a high risk. They literally have to consider you a high risk if you don't fit into their whatever their ever-changing attributes of a good ESG score are. So as a company, especially if you're not private, right? If you're private, you could tell them to go F off and a deal. Okay? But if you're public, you have to obey. You have to obey. Because you can't put and mind you, they put their people, at least one, on every board, so that they can monitor what's going on, what the conversations are, etc. All right, there's one mole in like every single one. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So now, mind you, they go ahead and they score you, they go through all that, and then you got to figure out, all right, well, the companies are trying to navigate these metrics. Really what they're doing is preparing themselves for the reset, because they're hedging their bets that these sociopaths are going to win this battle. Okay, that's what it is. They're hedging their bets that the sociopaths are going to win the battle. And that's just crazy talk. Crazy talk. All right? But you know what? Right now, it looks that way. Right now, it looks like the sociopaths, these billionaire elites, will win this battle. Because when you listen to them talk about it, and again, go watch them yourself in that YouTube video that they put out. They talk about this in a way like it's done. Like we're not asking you if you're okay with it. We're basically just telling you this is how it's going to lay out. Like this, so we just feel obligated to somehow explain to you, oh lowly citizen, how exactly this will work. And the ESG scores are something that they talk about, but people don't realize that they're already in play and have been in play for some 8 years now. For some 8 to 10 years now. But they've been ramping up, and that's why you see these companies. That's why Disney doesn't care being a child's network. That's why they don't care about. All they care about is their ESG score, which, by the way, has gone way up. Now, Tesla, you would think would score well. No, they don't. They don't, which is interesting because Tesla, and I'll get into that in a minute, Elon Musk has commented on this actually through his new company, his new network in Twitter. He's commented on it, and I'll get into that. But I want to talk about MSCI first. MSCI is one of the largest rating companies out there. It stands for Morgan Stanley something, but that doesn't matter. The Morgan Stanley thing doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why, because I'm going to show you in a second just what does matter, okay? And here's Yahoo Finance, okay, our favorite, right, where we go to see just how much of the world BlackRock and Vanguard own. Here's MSCI, okay? So when we scroll down to their, who's that? Who is that? Right? Top institutional holders, Vanguard, BlackRock, and of course State Street pops in there for a lot of these companies as well. But Vanguard and BlackRock are the two staples. Those two are on every. Do the exercise. If you didn't see our video on BlackRock, you can pull up Coca Cola, Pepsi, Google, Twitter. Before even Twitter, well, now Twitter's going private, so the BlackRock and Vanguard will be bought out. But like before Elon Musk, Twitter was on there, Google's on there, Apple's on there, Microsoft on there, Intel. I mean, you name the product. If it's a leader in its industry, it's majority owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Okay, and that's just That's just creepy talk. That's just creepy talk, right? But wait. So I wanted to get to Elon Musk because Elon Musk, if you're not aware, owns Twitter now, right? And he independently has a ton. He probably has more liquidity than anybody on Earth. It's one thing to be the richest man on Earth in your net wealth, but it's another thing to have the liquid value, the dollars in the bank, right? The actual dollars. So you're not talking about shares and all this stuff. We're talking about dollars, right? And the fact is, because he has this kind of liquidity, and he's not necessarily, I almost feel like it's a law of attraction thing with him. It really is. I mean, everything's a law of attraction thing, but with him, he has these visions. He sees ahead of time, and he believes with all of his heart that it's going to happen, and he manifests it like nobody's business. So here's his comments. ESG rules have been twisted to insanity, he tweeted. And then he tweets after that they should be deleted if not fixed, right? But my favorite one from him was, I'm increasingly convinced that ESG is the devil incarnate. And this is probably the most telling one, that ESG is the devil incarnate, because it is. It is. All right? Now, if you're not aware, China has social scores going on. Their social scores are there for the simple purpose of controlling the population. So if you live in China, okay, you're judged on your behavior, okay? So if you're nice to people, if you obey the CCP, if you follow whatever protocols, like right now, if you stay in your room and shut up because of the lockdowns, and you listen to the drone that flies overhead telling you to, not to worry about your freedom and all that. If you're compliant with all that, you get a great social score and things go better for you. If you're not, if you're a troublemaker, if you make decisions outside the box, if you're not rioting, but protesting and fighting back against the CCP, you're going to lower your social score. Your social score, well, what does that mean? It means it's going to be harder for you to travel. They could put restrictions on travel. They could put restrictions on bank loans. They could put restrictions on income. They could fine you. There's all kinds of things they can do to you for not behaving. All right? Which is exactly what ESG is for corporations. Okay? It's exactly what it is. And effectively, it's also that for us, because for those of us who work for these larger companies, it's the same thing for us. So, in the end, I don't know what, I don't know what it takes to make people understand, but I know a lot of people don't understand this. So I thought it was important, because next time you see a company do something really stupid and you're just like, why would they do that? This is why. Okay? Because if they don't do it, the big four are not going to be as nice to them when it comes to money. Banks are going to stop lending to them. They're going to be considered literally a credit risk. But instead it's an ESG risk. But the way it's looked at and the bad consequences that come with it are the same. So know that everything that you knew before about corporations, that all they want is money, and that's still true. It's one of the things that I love about them. Why? Because you always know what their motive is. You always know what their motive is. But when you talk about creepy people like this, no, their motives are a lot more dubious and a lot more cryptic. All right? For someone, just the mentality to go out and buy that suit. But in the end, people like Klaus Schwab, George Soros, and the rest of these psychopaths, things are much more cryptic. But don't get it twisted. The power is running with these people. Okay? Now, is Klaus really the biggest name in this thing? No, he's not. I can almost guarantee you that the biggest name in this is the Rothschilds. But, again, true to Rothschild nature, I'm going to throw out that speculation on my part, right? Speculation. But Vanguard's money rolls up to somewhere, right? It rolls, and it ain't Apple, right? Apple's listed as one of the top shares. It ain't Apple. Why do I know it's not Apple? They own Apple. So it ain't Apple. Someone's reeking in the benefits of the fact that Vanguard and BlackRock own just about everything. And the only family in this world that could be behind that is the Rothschilds. Let's face it. So I hope I was able to help you today with this and get you to understand a little bit about how it works. Go over to the WEF website. Make sure you smash subscribe. My apologies for that last stream. I'm going to get into this on my next. I'm going to jump on a stream tomorrow and kind of get this off my chest, because I honestly think my computers have been getting hacked, and I'll explain why. And I'm not saying it's a deep state thing. I'm just saying someone's messing around, and I have reasons to believe that. So. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, but otherwise, that conversation will be on. I'm saving the Twitter conversation for that. I was going to do them both on one live stream, but I decided to just save it for that because it's not, it's not worth it. So if you were one of the unfortunate ones that were on that live stream and my audio was disappearing and all kinds of things were happening to me, which have been happening to me regularly, by the way, and no one technically has an explanation for why they've been happening, which is why I want to get into a couple of the things that make me believe that. But I will tell you this, we are on Twitter now, so at Patriot Think Tank, we are tweeting. We're out there tweeting now, so I've never tweeted before in my life, so this is a new thing to me. I'm learning all about it. It's pretty interesting, but it's interesting to know that it's free, right? And that no one's going to come crashing down on me for saying something or for speaking truths out loud. So that's a beautiful thing. But we'll talk about that. I'm going to go live tomorrow. Normally I wouldn't go on tomorrow, but I'm going to go on tomorrow because I tried to go on today and it was a disaster. The audio wasn't working for a while. People were dropping off. I'm like, why is everyone dropping off? Then I realized they couldn't hear me. And by the way, if I am live and you do hear my audio go out, please say something. Please type something in the chat that says, hey, your audio's out. Because it's definitely something I want to get corrected. I don't want to be out there babbling too long and lose too many people. All right, well, that's it for this one. Like I said, I'll be on about Elon Musk tomorrow. That one's more of an open discussion than anything else. But I hope you learned something about ESGs today. Leave some questions in the comments if you have them. Be more than happy to cover those with you. And yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. I'm out.